time is now 7 p.m. We will call to order the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees regular meeting. We will start with a roll call by Secretary Bill Lawler.
Board Member Melissa Augusta.
Present.
William Lawler, present. Craig Messerneck, absent excused. Trustee Tara Mishner.
Present.
Trustee Doreen Poupard.
Present.
Trustee Ramesh Verma.
Present.
Trustee Jeff Wood.
Present.
Student Representative Ravina Joshi.
Present.
And Student Representative Lahari Vavilala.
Absent.
Okay. We will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Item number 4 on your agenda should be approval and overview of agenda, and that's found on pages 1 to 3.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is approved. 5, consent agenda. So we'll start with A, approval of regular meeting minutes, and that was April 26, 2018, and that can be found on pages 4 to 10. Looking for an approval?
So
Or a
moved.
motion, I'm sorry.
Second.
Everybody in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Moving on to B, approval of claims and warrants. That's L566, and that's 11 to 12 on our agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, did you have something you wanted to add for the agenda, that,
Right.
for the evaluation form? The new,
It got, it's already
it's
on
all
there.
set?
It's
Oh,
on there.
perfect.
It's
Oh,
under
okay.
10B.
Oh, sorry, my fault. Okay.
That's okay. Actually, I'm glad that you said that because there is one quick add, you guys. It's actually item number 7, and that is under presentation and special guest. Next to A, where it says April Stevenson, we're going to also add Lindsay Fricky there. They're going to co-present, and then C, you're going to add a C underneath that if you can fit it, and also add Lindsay by herself, Lindsay Fricky, for Teen Advisory Board. So that's a quick change. Thank you, Melissa. That actually was beneficial.
Okay.
Okay?
Do we need to amend the acceptance of the agenda?
You do.
As a result
Yes.
of that?
That's a very good question, too.
I move that we amend the agenda with the adding section 7.
Okay. Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, now we're at item number 6, correspondence. And it looks like we do have some correspondence today.
We do. On page 13, there is a thank you email from Tori Yu, and I apologize, that should be YU. And that was to April Stevenson, who is our Head of Information Services, in regard to the Hickory Woods event that she attended on behalf of the library. As you can see, there was a correspondence between a thank you for the attendance and then how pleased April was to be involved. This is another opportunity to be reaching out into the North community.
Yeah.
The invitation actually came from Tori. It was generated, as you, I'm not sure if you all remember, but Tori used to be a student rep with us years ago. He's now graduated and is a teacher up in the Walled Lake School District. So we're glad that we have a nice contact with him, and he definitely favors the library and keeps us in the loop and invites us to things. So
Nice.
that's on that. And then below that is another email, and this is from Jill Minnick from the Novi Community School District. And this is just, through this email, this is letting the board know that we will be working with the school district on some parking lots that are going to be sealed from the school this year. So we'll have to close the entrance to the staff and the school staff entrance off of Taft. That's going to be redone. We'll have to do some moving of some of our recycling bins and garbage to another location, and it'll be for about a 3-week at most time period. So they were giving us a heads up to some of this work happening this summer. But I'm in contact with her. They don't have specific dates yet, but they've given us a general time frame. And as you can see on the next page, on page 14, it gives you a little bit of a visual of some of the moves from the recycling and the garbage dumpsters, theirs as well, will move over into the library's main parking lot just on that south end. There shouldn't be any problem with moving those just for a couple weeks for accessibility. And then we're working on some of our vendors that typically do deliveries, either holding off the delivery if we can for a couple weeks, or making some changes to the delivery coming through the front door, and we'll be working on that.
Nice.
It shouldn't be too much disruption.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Julie on any of that? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right, so item number 7. So we have guests, yay. So we'll start A with April Stevenson and Lindsay Fricky. Please welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I wanted to have the opportunity to share with you some information about the Information Services Department. It has been a very busy year this year, but I'm very proud of all of our accomplishments. It was very hard to kind of narrow things down to everything that I wanted to tell you, but I'm going to do a top 10. I say top 10, but I don't want to even put them in any order because they all are fantastic on their own merit. So let's just go with the first one. And that is the creation of a Sensory Sunday Storytime video. This shows potential attendees where they will go, who they will meet, and what they will do ahead of time. In that case, it's very important for those children to have that opportunity to see our building, to see who is running, who's going to be there to meet them, and where they're going to be going. It gives them the knowledge ahead of time. Second, we hosted a Braille-enhanced story walk at First Park, and this was courtesy of the Library of Michigan and the Braille and Talking Books Library. So that was very nice. We applied for and received a Michigan Humanities Council Arts and Humanities Touring Grant for 4 of our 2018 summer reading programs. So we're very pleased with that.
How much was that grant?
Do you know what's a little over $600. Okay, we held our second annual Diversity Day program with over 700 people in attendance, lots of great food and cultural presentations. In addition to that diversity program, we expanded upon that, and each month we've been focusing on one culture. So we've had an Experience Culture series, very well attended and very well liked, offering patrons the chance to learn about each specific culture. Our Teen Advisory Board for the second year in a row was the State of Michigan winner of the 2018 Collaborative Summer Library Program Teen Video Challenge, and there's more to follow on that soon. We accepted the Library of Congress book donations courtesy of U.S. Representative David Trott. We assisted in the development of Novi's Caring Community Partners Project. We debuted the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro graphic tablet for public use. If you haven't had the opportunity to come and check this out with your artistic creativity, please come and do so. And of course, our redesign of the Business Resource Center, which we are just waiting on our kiosk to arrive, and the starting of the redesign of the early literacy area. Lots of good stuff. The second reason I'm here for you, to take up some of your time, is for our summer reading program. This year's theme is a great theme. It's called Libraries Rock. So we've been having a lot of fun over the last few days visiting schools and sharing that information with them. Couple of changes this year to a number of the programs. First of all, I'm sure you're all aware of our 1,000 books. So we are continuing that. Parents that are in that certainly can keep going. However, we also are doing a program just for this age group for this summer. So 2 opportunities for this age group to read, okay? We have our K through 4, our 5th and 6th, this is K through 4, 5th and 6th, and our 7th through 12th. So the changes that we've made this year, we kept our 12-week program, but we decided instead to push the start date closer to the end of the school year and farther to the start, so June 1st to August 25th. The school district has wanted us to extend that time, and we've made
we've done extra reading towards the end. We decided, you know what? Let's just extend it. It's just easier that way, and that way the students are reading the full entire summer. Also, the bigger change that we made in collaboration with Principal David Asher and instructional coach Diana Stotler, I spoke to them earlier in the year, and both of them suggested a change from minutes to books for all ages. Right now, as it stands, books were being used for birth through pre-K, 7th through 12th, and adult. So it just made sense to make everyone go through books. With their assistance, we determined what a right amount would be of just right titles. So certainly, it's not going to be correct for a high school reader to be reading an easy reader and think that that is appropriate. So we've made that clear, and we're very excited about that change. Any questions so far?
I had a question or
Yeah.
a comment. I noticed your accomplishments were very wide-ranging. They wouldn't all fit in one category. Do you have a list of objectives or a business plan or anything that you work from, or is your imagination just the...
Well, we start with your goals, your board goals, and we go down from there. I get a lot of input from my staff members on things that they want to do. And I feel it's very important to let their creativity go. And as long as it fits within our inform, inspire, and include, and your goals, then, and most of the time it does. So it all kind of works out. So thank you.
I had a quick question, April. I know last year, we started the summer reading program early, like, actually while the kids were still in, the students were still in school. Did you find that was probably not beneficial? What was your thought on that?
The kids weren't getting it at first right away, so there was, they missed a little bit of it. And the schools, again, they really wanted that August.
Okay.
And so that was the overriding factor. It's such a nice partnership with them, and we just felt this was going to work best.
Thank you.
We're always tweaking,
Yeah, absolutely.
always looking.
Good, thank you.
Just a few last-minute things, some programming details. We hope you will join us for our Sizzling Summer Rockin' Birthday Bash on June 22nd. This is going to be a huge event. It's going to take place at First Park. We'll be celebrating the Sizzling Summer 10th anniversary, so we're partnering with the city on that one. You can find our youth staff down on the farm this year. We're going to be both at Mayberry and at Tollgate this summer. Lots of fun family fun on Tuesday nights with magicians, petting zoos, family concerts. Adults, we have a staff member in the adult area that actually is very artistic, and so she's going to be doing a series called Masterpiece Monday. And if you've done that painting with a twist, that's kind of what it is. So we're excited to have her
Nice.
take that on. Lots of summer music on the patio, of course, so please join us for that. And again, our experience culture, so lots more than I can take your time for. But I do want to bring up Lindsay, because I would like her to share with you about our tweens and teens. And yes, question?
I have a question before. You have so many different activities. You've got this going and that going and all over the place. Do you get the same people who come back to the same events all the time? Or is this open, do you have the higher percentage of people coming for the first time? And how do you then encourage them to come back? It's a whole question of attendance mixed in there, so.
No, it's a good question. We actually get a little bit of both, and we revamped our programming survey. So at the end of some of our programs, we just kind of take a temperature of who's new, who's repeat. Of course, repeat we recognize because we've gotten to know them. But we have had a number of new people that have come and said, hey, this is my first time. And we're also going to narrow that survey down even more so because I really want to find out exactly where they're finding our information out. How are they finding out where to come to us? Where can we hit them the most? So that's our next step in that one. But yes, we have noticed an uptick in new, which is very exciting.
Well, you have such a menu that it's sometimes difficult for new people to know what to choose, what not to choose. And
Good
so
problem.
to get the foot in the door, to begin understanding what they chose is like, hopefully then can spill over into other activities.
We do try to take the time at programs to let patrons know about other programs that are going on. So we'll oftentimes have other flyers out, and before we introduce, say, a speaker or a presenter, we will say, hey, by the way, don't forget we've got XYZ going on, please join us.
Because there are, I'm sure, populations that just don't show.
Sure.
And so there's always, how do you reach into the more difficult to make aware and to provide services for? So I would really commend you for continuing to look for ways to bring in the usual uninvolved.
Right.
So thank you.
Yep. Thank you. All right, Ms. Lindsay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay Fricky. Thank you for inviting me to come tonight to your meeting. As April mentioned, I'm here to talk about two things. The first thing will be more about the tween and the teen summer program during summer reading. As you see, I am wearing one of the summer reading shirts, so if you stop by the library, you'll notice that a lot of our staff has different shirts this year, which is great, because they range from youth artwork to I bought the teen artwork, and then some people have the adult artwork as well. So if you see us around, that's probably what we'll be wearing. Okay, so some of the tween programs that we have that we're excited for is we've had a Pizza and Pages Club going on since September now. It's been greatly attended. We've averaged about 10 kids, which is pretty good during the year because we meet monthly and they're expected to read between a 200 and 300 page book each month. And that's a lot to ask of that age group when they have a lot of other activities. So I think that having 10 on average is pretty good. And so I'm happy with that, and I'm excited that we're going to continue that over the summer as well, monthly. And we play trivia, and they enjoy pizza, and the kids absolutely love that. We find that that works better than having a book discussion because the trivia is more interactive. They get put onto teams, and let's face it, the kids love to answer questions and be right. We're also having the DIA Away come. That's a mobile, it's a 53-foot long trailer. It's kind of like having a mobile classroom come to you, and they focus on science. They're going to bring all the staff, and they teach different educational components. So we're really excited. That's going to be the first week when they get out of school on Saturday, June 23rd, and they'll be there from 11 a.m. to 4. So you have 5 hours to drop in and enjoy this great mobile classroom. We're also bringing back our DIY t-shirt design. The kids can bring in their own t-shirt, and they use Sharpies and other things that we provide to them, and they can make their own shirts. They love it. I always see the tweens come in and they decorate something for summer reading, and then they wear them to another program, and they're always so excited to show our staff that they made it at the library and wear it again. So I always love that program. Because the theme is Libraries Rock, we are also having YouTube karaoke. We've done it before at a teen lock-in program. They absolutely loved that. So we're bringing that back again. They can pick the song, and then they're going to sing it in front of the audience just for fun. We're also having a new company come out. They're called Phoenix Free Running Academy. And pretty much what they do is they help kids learn how to do different aspects of movement and free running, but in a safe manner. Because a lot of kids in our community play sports, and they might fall and get hurt. This company is there to teach them, if you do fall, how can you fall in a safe way, and how can you play sports in a more safe manner so that you can still have fun, but without breaking your arm or your leg. So they're really great. It's going to be a really interactive program. They bring all kinds of materials. I had the opportunity to see them at a conference recently, and they bring all kind of manipulatives, and the kids can jump over them. It's a high energy program, a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that's going to attract a lot of our younger boys to come to the program as well. Stemming to girls now, we are offering a Coding for Girls workshop. Julie suggested this idea to me, and I think it's a great idea. We're having a makerspace guru. His name is Steve Thierry come. He used to be a former librarian, and now he's venturing off into specializing in makerspaces, which is really popular right now, especially with STEM programming. So we're having that Coding for Girls workshop where they're actually going to build their own LED color changing lamp that they get to take home with them. That same man will be coming back later on in August, and he's going to be doing a Minecraft program, which is really big with middle schoolers and teens. He's going to be teaching them how to build their own Minecraft game using a coding program called Python. So that's also great STEM program for our younger kids. And lastly, because it's Libraries Rock, we're having a company called Community. It's led by a woman named Lori. She is great. I've seen her at multiple conferences. It's high energy. It's pretty much all ages for that that can come. They each get their own equipment, so she brings everything with her. She might bring a drum, like maracas. She has all different kind of things, and by the end of the program, she has the whole room making music together in unison. It's wonderful. So those are just some of our tween programs.
Nice.
Any questions on those ones?
Lindsay, can I ask you a quick question,
Sure.
if you don't mind? I think the Pizza and Pages you and I were talking, is that the one that's predominantly male?
It is. It's
Yeah.
strange to say that, but we started off with like a good mix, and now we have predominantly males
Yeah.
who come to that. The last book that we read, that was actually last evening, was called Save Me a Seat, and the main character was Indian, and that was amazing, because most of our demographic who comes to this book club, they are males who are Indian of descent, and they loved that book. That was a suggestion from one of the kids, and I think that just having characters that they can relate to, and a background that they can relate to, helps them want to engage in the books, because they usually have never read any of the books that I pick, which is the goal set here, is because they can all pick up a James Patterson or something that's really popular that you hear of already. I want them to pick up books that they might not want to pick up on their own.
And I make that comment and had her, talk about that, because that's always been a struggle as a children's librarian, teen librarian, is to attract male readers. It tends to be much easier for females, but Lindsay has done the work and has obviously proven that she has a great following, and they're reading some awesome material, so.
Yeah, I'll follow up with that. I think you're giving them freedom to choose books that they like, make requests, and understanding the representation is very important, so.
And we try to do a
Yes.
lot of diverse backgrounds so that we do familiarize them with other situations. That we have one coming up where the boy is adopted, so that way we can hit all different kind of age groups and targets on that.
Good.
So stemming on to some of our teen programs that I'm really excited about this summer, Lucky Strike is one of our partners this year, and we are going to be hosting our teen kickoff party for the teens at Lucky Strike. It's going to be on a Saturday right after they get out of school, so that's Saturday, June 16th. It's going to be 2 hours of bowling, billiards, and pizza. So we're really excited. I'm going to be bringing the laptop. They can sign up for summer reading with me there, and they can just enjoy and have fun with me. So I'm really looking forward to kicking that off. And encouraging them to sign up for the summer reading program as well. We're also going to be holding more virtual reality Sundays. Dominic is usually in charge of that. They can come in and, play some of those virtual reality games. If they already don't know about it, it's a great time to just drop in, see how it works. I'm also excited because we're having a local henna tattoo workshop. She's coming in and she gives a great presentation about the background and the history of it. So they're not just actually doing the henna there, they're also going to be learning about the traditional art form, which is really great. She was actually a recommendation from another one of my teen librarian friends, so I'm excited to have her come in to the library and teach them more about that. Let's see. Again, because it's Libraries Rock, we are having the College for Creative Studies in Detroit come in and teach the teens about album cover photography. So they can bring in their cell phones or a camera, and they can learn how you create.
I didn't know that one, cool.
Yeah, that's a fun one. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And then, as usual, every summer we always have a lock-in after-hours party for the teens. So they're going to have that on Friday, August 24th in the evening if they finish the summer reading program. And that's always a lot of fun. Usually April is there with me, and they just really enjoy that the library is closed and we have all different kind of activities for them, and they love to eat pizza and have their ice cream social at the end. It's kind of a thank you for their participation in the summer. Any questions about my programming?
You make us want to be a teen again?
Yes, I try.
I don't remember having those things as a teen.
You were
I
reading
missed
my
it.
mind, yeah. I'm like, oh.
Otherwise, if there's no questions about that, I am here for my second thing to talk about that I'm very proud of for our Teen Advisory Board. Oh, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
June 23rd, you are having a big truck coming. Where it will be parked?
It's going to be in the back of the library. So on the east end of the parking lot, it'll be parked there. They're going to be arriving around 9 a.m., so it'll be before the library opens, so that they have enough room to get it positioned and parked before any traffic comes.
So
And
it
then-
will be for a day only?
They'll be here for one day because they do get a lot of requests. Actually, they had another request come in after we had already booked them because they're very popular, especially during the summer. And libraries love to utilize the service because it's free of charge for them to come to you, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Lindsay actually worked with our facilities department too to make sure that it was mapped out appropriately for where the truck would be located, and orange cones and everything will all be in that place so that people can access it from the parking lot on the east side. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so as I said, I'm really excited to come here today for my second thing because our Teen Advisory Board, as you know, last year they won the video for the first time and we submitted and we worked really hard on that. So again, we submitted this year and we won on behalf of the state of Michigan again. So I'm super proud of them for all the hard work that they put into it. They make the script, they have to actually film, and we finish all that in a 1-hour meeting, which is amazing. They give me a lot of their time to write that script, and then they show up and they're ready to work and work really hard because they're so proud of that video and they're so proud of representing the library and wanting to showcase the summer reading program. So I'm actually going to show you it. It's a very short clip that's up on YouTube.
If you would turn.
You want to turn around so you can see it or however it works for you.
On the big screen or, little one, whatever.
This is all made in-house for women.
Hey, did you hear about the summer reading program?
Isn't that where you win prizes for reading books?
Yeah, it's super fun.
Oh, we should sign up.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how's this going?
Great. Have you read this awesome book?
No, I haven't.
What about this?
Wow, that's awesome. The library has a lot of amazing books and programs too.
Summer reading coming up fast. Summer reading, you'll have a blast. Need a book to satisfy me. Join the program, it's where to be.
Tell me more, where do I sign up?
Summer reading, join today. 2 for fun and more.
Tell me more. Like, can everyone participate?
Don't forget to check out your library's other fun programs, like this.
Reading rocks!
So as you'll notice that, first of all, Lahari is in that video, one of our student reps. She was really proud to be a part of that. And also, we have a lot of stipulations. If you look more closely at the rules, we're not allowed to use any copyrighted music. So you'll see, even though a lot of people giggle at some of the things that are taking place, we're still trying to make it a fun and informative video, even though we're limited to some of the things that we can and cannot do in those videos. Each of the participants in the video receives a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the Collaborative Summer Library Program, which is the company that puts this out and also the company that the library takes a part of during our summer, and that's how we get our themes that we follow, which are national themes. And then they also send the library a $50 gift certificate from Upstart, which generally is used where we give prizes back to the Teen Advisory Board and have some type of small party for them, just as a thank you for all of their hard work in TAB, and they really enjoy that. Any questions? Yes.
As I listen to you, I just say, how do the residents of the city of Novi learn about what you're doing if they're not part of doing it? And so I'm wondering, do you put this on government channel, Novi government channel? Do you talk about that? We don't have like a Novi newspaper per se. We do, but not really. And so it's really hard to find out ways to communicate. So I would really urge us to do whatever we can. And some people don't go to the library website, so they're not going to find it there. So find unusual ways to kind of like hook in to publicity that's available. Because I think there are lots more people who'd be involved if they knew the choices and the fun and the investment for themselves they get out of all of this. So I would really urge some real type of communication and outreach beyond, I don't know what.
Maybe like the city Facebook page, I think is
Yeah,
Could
something
Cheryl
like that,
Walsh
or-
Malloy help with that too?
We do.
Cheryl.
Oh, okay.
We actually send a lot that way. we could bombard her every day. What they do is they actually tend to take from our Facebook page and load up and, you know,
Yes, they do.
so we do share cross information all the time. That's what Christina's biggest challenge.
That's
Yeah.
probably the strength. I'm looking
Yes.
for where we're not strong.
Right.
And alternative ways of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
because I look at the tendency, that's why I was asking, how many come first, how many have been here all the time?
Mm-hmm.
When are we reaching new people? When are we reaching the hard to reach?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people who are not hard to reach. They love the library and they're here, and they eat it up, as well they should. But how do we reach differently, and what kind of communication is required in order to do that beyond computers and
And I hear you, because I honestly think that's still one of our biggest challenges for us.
It
And
is.
with all the different ways that
It
we do
is.
communicate, engage, Facebook, Twitter.
Instagram.
You know, we send things through the school district, we put it on our website, we use the city. We're part of the Nextdoor now, and we post in the neighborhoods on Nextdoor. I think we've got lots of different ways. Sometimes it might even be overwhelming that it's out there too much. We still do a mail, engage, we still do our e-newsletter, but you're right, it is, I think it's still our biggest challenge,
It
is
is.
to getting out our, what we do.
Particularly for those who are harder to reach. And that's
Right.
what I'm always kind of like thinking of. And so I don't know how we like use the schools in some ways. You know, schools get used all the time for these things. But there are children and youth and adults who do not know how to take part in what's available.
Right.
Because they don't know about it, because it's uncommon, unfamiliar. And so ways to reach out that invites, it's more inviting. And I don't know what they are, but I really challenge you, because you have such a great product and process that it's a shame that it's not more deeply ingrained in the community.
And I think now, Lindsay, if you can speak to this, I know at one point you can't show the video. Now is the video ready to be shown and can be shared? Because I know there's a time frame where you can't.
Right, and that's exactly right. So what happens is, for a short period of time after we do find out that we have been selected to win for the Michigan level, we cannot show the video because we still go on to compete nationally.
Right.
At that point, and that is still going on to my knowledge. I have not heard otherwise from the state level representative who works for the Library of Michigan.
Right. So we've shown it to you, but until we hear for sure, we can't put it out in the community yet.
Okay.
But as soon as we do, we can also share with the local cable, Studio 6, which works right here.
Yes.
With the school, or with the city, we can do that.
The Oscar winning?
Yes, the Oscar winning, Emmy winning.
Emmy
Yes.
winning, right.
And the other thing to add is, we've also gone back traditionally too. April talked about going out to the schools and doing school visits and literally
Yes.
meeting
Yes.
with an assembly of children. There's a lot of libraries that have cut out doing that, and we dedicate hours to doing that and getting to every building and multiple classrooms, I do believe, in order to just get face-to-face with those kids and get them excited about summer reading and some of the programs. So but you're right, it is a big challenge,
It is a
absolutely.
challenge.
Yeah. I received actually a flyer on summer reading in my son's packet.
Yep.
So, and it had nothing to do with him coming to the library often. It was right from his teacher. So
That's great.
they are definitely,
Oh, yeah.
as a parent in the district, I can say they are definitely reaching out to a lot of avenues. I do want to give you an opportunity to respond. I don't think you got to answer Doreen's question.
About reaching out to different.
Your own thought process on that.
So I do work closely with the high school and Christina. Christina and I send over flyers to them, so it does reach the good teen audience in that regard. But mostly I have found with teens, it's through word of mouth. Honestly, when they come through Tab, that's how I get new Tab, and this year was one of the greatest years. Ravina can attest to it. Lahar, even though she's not here today, a lot of the times the girls do come to those meetings and they'll see, yes, we do have the regular ones that come, but sometimes they're bringing a friend, and that friend all of a sudden is like, hey, you know what? This is actually fun. Miss Lindsay's not so bad after all. I'm going to come back next time, and so then it just keeps spreading that way. And then I've done a couple program evaluations at the end of my programs, which is very similar to the adult form that goes out. And one of the questions on there is, how did you hear about this program? 90% of the time, I would say from a friend. it wasn't the website, it wasn't my Facebook post, it was from my friends going and I want to go too. It wasn't from a parent for my teenage, it was always through somebody else that they knew. So I just think that that's most beneficial, is to just keep getting the word out to one teen, because then all of a sudden it becomes they want to have other friends come along and it's the fun place to go.
The other advantage that Lindsay has is, I know she's also working very closely with Tab and the monitor, who's in our, I'm sorry, not Tab, but in Teen Space, so that we have every day. She has held programs in the same time frame as Teen Space being offered, has even been in Teen Space, and also advertises through Teen Space as well, which is sometimes a different group from Tab.
I was just going to say, I think that's the biggest change this year. One of my new tasks this year was to oversee the Teen Space Monitor, and I think having that new relationship where I can work more closely with her and actually be able to spend some time dedicated to learn what's going on in that space has not only helped me, but it's helped the teens, because they're a totally different group of teens that sometimes would come to an after-school program versus an evening program. Because if they've already been there after school until 5 o'clock when the room closed, 9 times out of 10, a parent has come to pick them up and they're not going to want to come back to a 7 p.m. program. So because of that, Yolanda and I have worked closely with April and tried to brainstorm some more ideas, and one of those has been doing a lot more programming in that room after school. Even if it's just a fun thing where we invite some of the partners into that space, and that's worked great. We've had upwards to 100 of them show up, and they're like waiting for a program. We have Christina make a flyer, and we just push it to the Teen Space kids, because the other teens who come to programming at the library already are familiar with how this system works, in my opinion. So I like to give them a space of their own, as it should be, and a program just for them. And that seemed to work out very well for us so far. And again, they continue to spread the word, and it's not just, oh, they're going to have a free pretzel day. It's, hey guys, I can hang out here, I can play video games, I can play ping pong, I can have a safe spot to do my homework, I can hang out with my friends, and that's what the purpose of the room was. And then they don't even know that they're spreading the word with their friends. And then we have a marketing board in that room as well that does show other programming that we have going on specifically for teens. And we always mention to them, you know, if it requires pre-registration, please go register, and they're getting used to that as time goes. And that's how we end up filling up more programs, is because some of them didn't even know we had those programs because it's a different group, and now they do. So it's just another avenue.
Peer
And we do
pressure
have
in the best way.
We do have a Facebook page as well for teens. If anybody is interested, please add yourself and then share it with some of your friends or anybody else that has teenagers. That's a great way, because I've picked up a lot more traffic, and I'm actually really surprised to see that I recently posted a picture of our teen advisory board, and I thanked them for their hard work this year. I had all the teenagers themselves liking that, to my surprise. I thought it was all their parents just following my post just so that they could tell them. They were so proud to see themselves in that photo, and that was really, really nice to see. So it's just another avenue to reach out to them, because they're all about social media.
Yeah.
In this day and age too.
You know, I'd just like to say, you know, because I went to that first meeting, and you're absolutely right, the word of mouth. And that only works if it's you know, you have a good program, and the kids are going to, and that first meeting, there's more kids than there was space in that room. I mean, there were, I don't know, 10, 15 kids standing. So you've done a great job at growing this. It doesn't happen overnight. There was kids from more than just Novi High School there, which I was surprised to see also. But I think the biggest challenge you have in all these high schools, and I can state that since I have kids there, is there is so many things for these kids to do. My son cannot attend this because he's in 3 sports, and he's there from right after school until, you know, sometimes 6, sometimes 7 o'clock, just with the sports.
Right.
So, you know, and then you have kids that are involved with DECA, HOSA, band, you name it. So, you know, and that's a great
We've
thing
attracted
about
a
our
group.
high school is there's all these different opportunities, but I think you're doing a phenomenal job reaching the audience and growing the teen space. So I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Nice.
For sure.
Any other questions?
Great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. We appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, ladies.
So next, we have, thank you very much. We appreciate you all. Next up on the agenda, if you can look at item B, we have Miss Kathy Crawford, who's the chair of Novi Historical Commission, with an annual update for us.
And our Michigan
Thank you.
representative.
And our Michigan representative. I read straight from the agenda. Didn't write it.
That's okay. Oh, yeah. I need a little technical assistance.
That's
right here.
okay.
That's all right. I'm not quite as adept at this as the younger ones are. I'm telling you, that presentation made me tired. Really. I mean, with all that's going on. Thank you. With all that's going on at the library, I mean, I just can't believe all that's going on. So thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the board. I wanted to, because the Historical Commission meets at the library, you should be aware of what we do there, right? I mean, we're using space in the library, and I think it's really important. And so I said to Julie that I thought it was time that we came and made a little presentation to you, so you would not wonder what in the world, why are they taking up all this space, and what are they doing there? So thank you very much for the opportunity to come tonight. I do have a member of the commission here also with me. Tammy Lee Knopp is here. And I'm very delighted, finally, to say that we finally have a full complement of members. We've done some adjustments and asked City Council to give us more assistance and everything, and rewrote an ordinance and all that in order to get more members. So we now have 7. And we just got a new member. And so we've got a full group of people. In the beginning, about 5 years ago, when I started as chair, 3 or 4 people would show up, and it was very difficult, especially if someone's sick or whatever. It's very difficult to get much done. And we meet once a month in the history room at the Novi Library, just to give you an idea. And I brought some information for you, as you see, your little packet there, and I just wanted to hit a couple of highlights. First of all, Tammy Lee here, did you see this is Novi flyer that's right there, a little trivia exercise for you, something to do tonight when you have nothing else to do. You might want to answer some of these questions, and I did give you the answers in the very back sheet. Don't look at them yet. We'll just see how many, eventually. We're not going to do it right now, but just so you can play a little trivia game. And I also included some of a little bit about the flyers. The report that I'm going to do for you today is really covering the 2016-2017 update years. So the 2017 program flyer that you have there will give you an idea of some of the quality of some of the programs that we have been offering. And also the flyers or the brochures. I'm not sure how many of you were here last time I did an update, so I brought a lot of the handouts that we have in the history room. The Novi Historical Landmarks brochure is a very good one, because it kind of gives you some insight. We don't have a fun little wonderful Victorian downtown like Northville and Farmington. So we have very few buildings that are still standing that are part of our history. And most of our history actually is in our historical cemeteries. That's where our history is. So I brought that information for you, and so that you can see some of the programs that we've been doing and have that little trivia. And I also brought, or gave each one of you, a wooden nickel. Yes. We've been giving these out, these wooden nickels, and in case you aren't sure what happened, back in the day, when people from the country would come to the city, and maybe they would do business in the city or they would get a job in the city, there was some thought that you were always told, don't take any wooden nickels. And sort of, it was an adage to remind you that don't let yourself be flummoxed by something somebody does to you in the big city, particularly those from rural areas go to the big city. Be cautious in your dealings. Because what happened, wooden nickels actually were issued in times of severe economic duress, such as when the market crashed in the early 1900s. It's entirely possible that our old bank building, which stands on the southeast corner of Novi Road and Grand River, would have given out wooden nickels if it had ever opened as a bank, but it was scheduled to open when the market crashed. So it became a bar instead, became the Novi Inn. So that building is still standing, and anyway, it's just, I thought you should have the wooden nickel, and it has the Novi Historical Commission logo on the back of it, and we give that out whenever we go somewhere and kind of tell a little bit of history about the wooden nickel. I do want to say that the commission is really indebted to Novi Library. We don't have a museum. We don't have space for artifacts very much, but the history room space has really given us a museum as well as a place to do research. We have books in there that our library, that Betty Lang, who is actually our point person from the library, she researches what books are good, and now, for historical reasons anyway. And now there's such a resurgence, or a lot of people that are interested in genealogy. So we have a number of people that want to come to that room and kind of research their history. And so it's very, very helpful for people to know what's in that room. So those of us on the commission take turns sort of staffing that room. We can't just leave it open, because we did that once in the early days, and something came up missing from the room and we never got it returned. A lot of these things are not replaceable. There's not something that we can replace. So I don't know if you realize it or not, but it's very unique, I think, for libraries to be involved this much in the history of a community. And I think our library does a lot of very unique things, and you can be very grateful and proud of what this library accomplishes. The staff, the leadership, and of course, you also are very much involved in it. So the direction that Novi Library goes is very different than a lot of other libraries that I've seen throughout the state. One of the things that I do as a volunteer, too, which is another unique thing, is the On the Road with the Novi Library. I went to Julie some time ago and said, you know what, we need to do some cultural enrichment travel, day trips. Not too many, we don't want to compete with the private sector, but there's so many wonderful things that people want to see, and particularly older adults who maybe don't drive anymore or don't feel comfortable going somewhere all by themselves. So we just did one about a week ago. We went downtown Detroit and spent the day in Detroit, and we went over to the Maritime Museum. We had a big day planned, and Gail Anderson and I did the trip, and it was such the trips fill up before, like 2 months before they actually take off. So I wish we could do more, actually, but poor Gail, she can't plan that many things. She's so involved in so many other things. But the next one will be in Midland, and that'll be in September. So give a heads up to people that are kind of wondering where we're going to go and what we're going to do. So that is really a unique thing for a library to do. I brought some slides today, and I wanted to show you some things, because some little things that we have in the history room tell a big story about our city. A lot of people think we don't have a history, right? We're young, we're new, we don't have a downtown, there's so many things we don't have that other cities have. But we do have a remarkable history, and it's because Grand River was one of the first plank roads. Grand River was the road that most people traveled if they were going anywhere throughout the state, if they were going to the west side of the state, if they were going downtown Detroit. But Grand River was a plank road, so commerce could move up and down Grand River, and Novi Road also became a plank road early. So a lot of people wonder why in our cemetery we have so many, we have American Revolutionary War patriots buried in our little cemetery in Novi, when cities that are much bigger than us don't even have one, and we have three. And we have War of 1812, and we have Civil War, but because of the ease, not that travel was easy in the 1800s, but because it was a plank road, carriages could come down Grand River, and they also could go down Novi Road. So that's one of the reasons. Our Historical Commission has really been working diligently and working very hard on a lot of things. And I gave you a report of some of the things that we've been working on, and a couple of things I'd like to point out to you. We've had, during this update period, we had over 250 participants coming to some of our programs, our evening programs that we're putting on. We have dramatically increased our visibility in the community to such an extent that we, as volunteers, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about as volunteers, it's hard to get, to do all the things that the community would like for us to do. Schools are requesting more programs from us. They want to know about the history of the city that they live in, a lot of interest in our history. So that's one of the things that I talk about. And I know this is going to be your nighttime reading, and you're going to be riveted to this report that I gave you. But just a couple highlights. One of the more popular programs that we did last year was the Wall Lake Casino Amusement Park program. Every time I get asked, almost monthly, I swear, to come out and do that program. So we did a PowerPoint presentation with pictures. No one can believe what was on this site where the Wall Lake Amusement Park was, that 16-acre site. No one can believe all of that. Hundreds of thousands of people were on that site at any given time. They could not believe it. And the fact that 4,000 people were dancing in the dance hall. I mean, that is remarkable in an area that looks so calm and peaceful now. So they just can't believe it. I mean, my family, because I'm what a person looked like that was born here 76 years ago. So my family would never let me go there because the city people, there's no telling what would happen to you over there at that Wall Lake Amusement Park. It was just so rough, you know, the hooligans were over there, so I couldn't go. Anyway, one of the other things that we have done to sort of enhance the library is my husband and I, when he had his 70th birthday, we got people to make donations in lieu of birthday presents, and we purchased the cabinet, the display cabinet that's on the first floor. And what we try to do is keep displays in that cabinet that are connected somehow to the programs that are coming up. Now, right now, there's a big display in there on the Detroit Tigers. So you might notice that, but that's something that we try to relate it to programs that are there at the library of historical significance. So we've had a number of them. We had the War Dogs program there. We had Mayberry State Park. We've had African American women. We've had Novi then and now. We've gotten a lot of programs. And I guess we've got a groupie that is a volunteer that doesn't live in Novi, but she loves our historical commission in the city so much, she volunteers her time to search for displays, and she is in charge. We've made her a manager. I've given her a position. You are the manager of that display case. And so she does a great job, and with little or no reward. She can't even vote, on the commission, but she's really wonderful. So every year, too, I told you we get acquisitions that are in the history room. So there's lots and lots of books. If you ever get a chance to come up there sometime, take a look at all the different reference books. If people that came to Michigan from Ireland, people that came from Italy, people, we have books there. You can research family and where they came from. We've been having document donation days, and it's been a real challenge trying to get people in Novi that might have been here a long time to just come to the library on a Sunday and bring us your documents, and we want to scan them. If you have pictures, if you have, we really try to publicize it, and it's been a real challenge to get people, but only last week we got some excellent material, and I'm going to show you some of the things that have been donated to us. Our commissioners are able to go to workshops and conferences just like many of you do. One of the things I want to tell you about is that we just completed on the Novi Road Cemetery. I don't know if you've noticed, if you drive by it, all of the headstones are standing up pretty straight. Some of those headstones 5 and 10 years ago were actually underground. They weren't even above ground. And so the city has hired someone that actually comes into the cemetery and has refurbished, and it's a labor of love for him. He really knows a lot about cemeteries, and he's very professional about it, and he's done our old Knapp Cemetery on 9 Mile as well as the one on Novi Road. Our history is in that cemetery. I encourage all of you to go there sometime and just look at the headstones. It's really remarkable who's in there. And what we're trying to do, the city just did a GPS of every headstone in there. And it was thought, because there's a sign out front that says there's something like 7 veterans, it was thought that there were the former historical society in Novi said that's the veterans that we have here. Well, we have found there are 45 veterans there. 45, not just the 7 that are on the sign. So we're definitely going to be replacing the sign. And my dream, and our historical commission dream, is to be able to walk up with your smartphone up to a headstone and see the story of the person who lived there at a time in Novi, which would be so remarkable. It would be absolutely incredible. And to have pathways that are easy, so easy access. So a person in a wheelchair actually would have access to go in there. So we've got a ways to go, and we're going to be adding some things to that cemetery, such as pathways and maybe paved area that you can drive on, and also the challenge is parking, because this was a historic rural cemetery. And carriages went through that gate, and that's probably the original gate, so it's narrow. And carriages went through there and then just came back out. Most people walked to the cemetery, and it's rolling, and what we would like to do is bring it back to what it would have been in the 1800s and early 1900s, which means that every tree, the big trees that are in there, the maple trees, were probably original to that cemetery when the property was donated to us. And a lot of the plantings are just as historic as the headstones. So we've been researching and doing a lot of work there, so we'll keep you posted on that. The city has requested that we come up with, we find some veterans who were killed in action in Novi, and because they would like to place it on the memorial that is in front of City Hall. And so we're in the process of developing a form, so if any of you know of anyone, we will have a form that people can fill out. Right now, we know of 2. Dunham, Mr. Dunham was killed in the Argonne Forest in World War I, and he's one that was killed in action, and he lived in Novi on a farm, and his family sold the farm after he died because they just couldn't keep it up without the son there. So, and it became the first farm that was theirs before it was the first farm. And the other one is Major Andy Becker, which is a recent one, 2017, killed in action. So they will be on the memorial plaque, and I suspect it will be there in time to be on the back of the memorial this Memorial Day. And then we'll be adding names to it. We'll have a temporary plaque that we will add names to. So if you know of anyone that maybe lived here and you have heard that they were veterans or they were in the military and they died while in action, then please let us know. The goals, I'm not going to read through all the goals, but one of the challenges that we have is recruiting speakers for our programs, and that's always challenging for the Friends also. We try to work together with the Friends of the Library in order to coordinate our dates and coordinate the programming. I don't want to take any more time on that report because I know you're going to go through every single word that's written there. I just know it. So I'm going to show you a few slides here. Or not there. Okay, here's Dara, one of our newer members. If you can see it all right. Dara, we got asked by one at Parkview Elementary to come in and do a program, explain to elementary school students what kind of games people played. I mean, when I was the director in Novi, the senior center, people said, "What did you do all day when you were a kid? You didn't have TV?" No, we didn't have a TV. Well, what did you do? Well, we kicked a can, we kicked a ball, we were outside all the time. Well, what did you do out there? So it's fascinating to young people to know what kind of games were played. And so Dara and Ray went to Parkview, and we did the same. We did a similar kind of thing at the recent Palooza at the Civic Center this past week, and the kids wanted to hear all about games, so we researched, the members have researched what kind of games would have been played. And this is Ray teaching a class on how to do your family tree. You know, young people want to know how to do it, and so she had a little board that Betty Lang at the library had used with some of the kids that came to the library, and so we kind of commandeered that board and used it and then handed out materials so that young people would know how to trace their family, beginning interest in genealogy. Well, here's Tammy demonstrating some of the toys, and Tammy, one of the most popular toys was, what was it?
Cat's Cradle.
Cat's Cradle. she had a bunch of strings there, and all of the kids were doing Cat's Cradle, and a lot of the parents and even grandparents were doing it. So, and there were marbles, and there were other toys there that were really fascinating to the kids. You can see by their faces, like, wow, you know, this is, and we had prizes, and Guernseys were so generous and donated a couple baskets to us to guess how many wooden nickels were in this jar and other things. So it was a great event. And just to give you an idea, there's some of the pictures from the old Wall Lake Amusement Park, and then this was a table that I had set up when I was doing the presentation, I think at Wixom. I've done this presentation probably 15 times. I mean, I've done it a lot for Rotary and a lot of other organizations, and people are just fascinated by it. And this was the War Dog. You know, we have a War Dog cemetery in Lyon Township, and Ray Whiteliff came and brought a dog, and also talked about the cemetery and what all goes on at the cemetery. And at the same time, you'll see behind him, we have a World War I helmet in the display case, and some stuffed dogs and some other information there that relates to war dogs. Because if you ever get a chance to go on a Saturday when they are burying a war, these are police dogs, and these are also dogs that have been used in the Middle East and everything. They bury them, and it's just like a military funeral. You know, there are people there from the military and all that. It is pretty remarkable, and your hair would stand on end when they have the howling tribute to the dog that has passed away, and it's German Shepherds all howling simultaneously. It would really give you goosebumps. So it's a remarkable program. Here we are when we did our first cemetery walkabout, and I don't know if anybody has been over there, but there's Dara explaining. What we did was we had members we decided that we were going to do veterans, and we would pick several of the veterans from various different wars. Curtis Pratt, the one at the top, was Civil War, and he was put in charge of the colored troops, or the black troops. So he was a white man that was put in charge of colored troops. And his grandson still wears his uniform, and he wore the uniform and did a program for us, one of the programs that we did. So it was really an amazing program. But we decided that we would start there and tell his story. So we invited City Council and the whole community to come. Scott Dunham, over to the left, was the one that was killed in action in World War II in the Argonne Forest. Hooper Bishop is one of the American Revolutionary War patriots, and Caleb Carr also. But Caleb Carr was one of the ones that actually fought in the War of 1812 as well as the American Revolution. Down further, the Regentics, Otto Regentic and Vladimir, both were veterans. One was World War II, and the other was Vietnam. So we had, not reenactors or anything, but members of the commission standing at each one of those headstones and told a little story about that individual. And it was very, very popular, I don't mind telling you. You know, when we were talking about the Wall Lake Amusement Park, you probably know, or maybe don't know, that our bathhouse there actually won a design award because it was built to replicate what the old bathhouses looked like. The style of it, this certainly wasn't the bathhouse that I remember from the 1950s, but the style of it was actually to reminisce. And the pictures, the Historical Commission put pictures on the wall there so that you could see what used to be at that site. And this is a passive park, Pavilion Shore Park, but there's a lot of history on this site, and we have some of the Motor City markers there. There's 3 large markers that tell what you are looking at while you are there at that particular park. This, I want to show you, is Novi Road and Grand River, and this is Mr. Goodall, and I would like to believe Mr. Goodall is standing out in front there. We don't know who that gentleman is, but I'd like to believe it was him. He had a dry goods store, what you would call a dry goods store, right here at Novi Road and Grand River. And in the back is, you can see in the distance, is the old Township Hall, which is now, right behind, right behind the library and the Baptist Church. So Mr. Goodall was there, and this is a close-up of his store, and we wish we could see inside to know exactly what all was in there. We don't have too many pictures. But what we do have, in researching the records, what we find when we have these pictures is we're beginning to tell the stories now, because now this picture was taken in 1896, the corner of Novi Road and Grand River. And stores of this type actually were very popular. They were a gathering place for the entire community. They usually had a checkers board in there, and people would sit there and play checkers. They would have chairs in their store, so it was a place for people to gather. And this would be like that. And there was a wide variety of items there. There was, anything to do with a farm was sold there. The Novi Feed Store is where you bought feed. But this store would have pots and pans and probably some fabrics and all that. This would have been the Target store, I guess, of the day. That would be how I would describe it. But here we go. We were the recipients of a number of burial permits. Now, this burial permit tells the story, the end of George Goodall. You saw his store, but this is his burial permit. And what's interesting about this is that, the diseases and everything from, this is from 1931, the diseases that they had were something, it just says mitral insufficiency, which was really, that was very scientific. When you see some of the other burial permits, it was pretty crazy what was on the burial permits that someone died from. You would hardly know. But one thing that's kind of remarkable here is that you see the place of removal. It says Northville, via auto, and the undertaker was Castor Lines from Northville. So Castor Lines were in business for a very, very long time. And often they were the registrar of the death. Very often they were the medical attendant as well. They would proclaim that somebody was dead. And what we were fascinated with in these burial permits is this, back in the day, it was a tough life. I mean, this man died because a tree fell on him, and Charles Cadwell, age 93 years, so I gotta believe he couldn't move as fast as he needed to, right? It's kind of what I'm thinking, which is probably not very nice, but, he's been gone a while. Schrader's, now if any of you know in Northville, Schrader's Schrader's Furniture Store was in Northville, but also they were the early undertakers for this area. And so they were the one-stop shop. They came and they were the medical attendant. Now in this case, Doc Holcomb, who was from Novi, actually, was I don't know if he ever was actually a doctor, but we always called him Doc Holcomb. He was the medical attendant, and then the place of burial was in Novi, so these are people that are buried in the old Novi cemetery, and Schrader's brothers picked him up and buried him. So what we were also surprised about was the number of poisonings. There were a number of poisonings, but then when I got to thinking about it, this poor woman, Olive, died from canned peas. You have to remember back in the day that there wasn't refrigeration, there wasn't freezers. And some people weren't very good at canning, Let's just face it. I mean, because there were a number of poisonings, and at first it was a little startling. Why do we have so many poisonings? But that's what the primary problem was, is that people didn't can properly, or, bacteria got in there and they died from that. And Mr. Holmes was the undertaker from Milford, and the burial was at the Novi Cemetery. So Mr. Richardson, unfortunately, was struck by an electric car, and from Novi. He was age 56, and Mr. Schrader picked him up and took care of him and filed the the permit and everything, because you had to have a permit in order to be buried at the Novi Cemetery. We had a number also that were killed by trains. I never could quite understand that. There was nothing else here, but we had a number of people that were killed by trains. There were probably a lot more trains maybe than we have now even. But Mr. Ricks, age 73, was killed by a train. So we have a whole big box of these burial permits that begin to tell a story of certain periods in our history that's really quite remarkable that we even have these. So we're in the process, we just are starting to get them all, electronically documented and everything so that we'll have these records forever. Here's a record that you might be interested in. This is the school district proposed budget from 1937 to 38. Their entire school assessed value is $500,000. A house in Novi now one house would be costing that. And the total amount raised in taxes was $5,388. So you can see all of the amounts of money. Tuition was $1,500. Now, in my case, when I went to school, I never got to go to school in Novi, even though I lived in Novi my whole life. Novi paid my tuition to go to Northville, then to go to Wixom, then to go to Walled Lake, then to graduate from Farmington High School. I never went to school in Novi, even though I was born here and lived here my whole life. So Novi paid tuition for many of the students until we finally got our own schools. So we didn't have that. Here's the sign out front that's going to have to be removed here about the old burial ground, which is the Novi Road Cemetery. In 1844, graves from the Lauren Flint farm were moved here, and the property was donated. And you see they don't have very many veterans listed, but there were actually 45 in this cemetery. So, and I want to show you something in the back of the cemetery that was really alarming to us commissioners when we walked over the property. The retaining wall in the back was falling into the railroad tracks. So we brought it to the attention of the city of Novi, who said really it was the railroad's problem, and brought it attention to the railroad, CSX. And I had a little bit of sway in Lansing, talking to them, a little bit of pressure that I was able to put on them. And they said, well, no, because that actually belongs to the city. So we went through this for about 3 years while the erosion continued. But I'm happy to report that the railroad did build the retaining wall, a new retaining wall, so that now we're not going to lose any more of our property there. So just to give you an idea of what all was going on. I think the best thing that we can tell you is that we're continuing we're very much involved in the 50th anniversary program, because next year, in February, it will be a 50-year anniversary of the city of Novi. I don't myself happen to think 50 years is very old. However, we're going to celebrate it here in Novi. And there's lots of plans for things that are going to be going on for that celebration. So I guess I'd open it up to questions, and if any of you have questions. We've got a lot of plans and goals and things that our commission is working on, but I'd like to hear anything you've got to ask.
Mine isn't a question, it's more of a comment, Kathy. Thank you so much. You always educate. And I've heard presentations from you before, but I feel like every time I come away with something new.
Good.
And that Walled Lake one, definitely try to catch her from one of those. That was really fun. I did get to catch that. So thank you. Thank you for informing us and keeping us aware of where we live.
Okay.
Anyone else?
We are celebrating 50th of the Novi city.
Yes.
Yeah.
But some of those in the cemetery, 1872 and this, but they still write Novi at that time.
Still Novi, but we were a township. Actually, but we were called a township then. Back in the 1800s and the 1900s, we were called a township. And actually, on Grand River, and where I lived on my farm on Grand River in Meadowbrook, we were called North Farmington. We weren't even Novi then.
Yeah.
Novi was called the Novi Corners for a long time, and then we were a township. But then, 50 years ago, they said, well, you know what, we're losing some of our territory to Wixom, we're losing some of our mileage and everything. I mean, we're losing miles, we're losing sections, little parts of our land, so we need to become a city, because then other cities can't grab away from us, so. Anyway, that's what happened. So we were a township, and then we became a city 50
And I'm
years ago.
surprised that you were born here, but you couldn't go to the Novi school.
Nope.
Why?
There were no.
They heard about me, I guess. I don't know. No, actually, what happened is in the early days, when school district boundaries were all moving and shifting and everything, and very few Novi kids ever went to school in Novi back in the 40s and 50s. Most of us had to go to Northville Elementary. So in the 50s, there was the old Novi Elementary School on Novi Road, where the town center is now. There was the old Novi Elementary, and some kids got to go there, but it ended at 8th grade. So then those kids had to go to Northville. But where I was living, on Grand River, I went to Northville, but then we moved to another farm, still in Novi, and it was in the Walled Lake School District. And then we went to another farm, at Haggerty, and 12 Mile, and that was in, all the buses from every school came by there. So one of my sisters went to Novi, 2 went to Northville, and I went to Farmington. Weird. Wow. Yeah, my mother was really in the car a lot, going to events, I can tell you. Anything else?
Well, Representative Crawford, you are really kind of like the voice, the picture, the history, the embodiment of Novi in so many different ways that when you enter a room, people think Novi. And so you have really created a picture of the city of Novi. And you carry that wherever you go, and you carry it with such pride. And so I can think of no one who epitomizes the background, the history, and so on of Novi, and who carries that message so clearly. So thank you on behalf of the
Doreen.
citizenship.
I
of the
will
city.
say, I had a little chip on my shoulder when I was younger, because everybody thought, anyone that lived in Novi, you were all farmers.
That's right.
And they thought we were backward. And it used to really, people actually, when I got a job in Detroit, actually spoke slower to me when they found out where I lived. So I just made it my life's goal to make Novi, to make Northville a suburb of Novi, and Farmington too. Because I was so sick about hearing, what all was going on all around us, because we do have a history.
Yes.
And it's a rich history, but most people don't realize it. So I want everybody to know.
And you do that well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have 2 things. I did the cemetery tour, and it was very, very enjoyable.
Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. And my second, one of my first experiences with the historical committee was at the library when you did a presentation about the history and you showed pictures. And there was a story about how the actual name came to be. There's a lot of misconceptions. Was it true there was a doctor's wife?
That's what early minutes did show. Now,
Okay.
we're trying to find a copy. There is a copy somewhere that we don't know is in a box somewhere in storage, that we're trying to find the actual minutes. But I did see minutes at one point in time of a suggestion by a doctor's wife, and they were from New York, like a lot of people that came this way came with land grants, or they came here from New York in the 1800s. And the doctor's wife was at the township meeting, and they were looking for a name that was short, because most of the people that lived here were illiterate and they couldn't write. So they were making X's for their name, but they thought, Farmington was a long name to write out, Northville was a long name to write out, so they wanted something short, and it was her suggestion, Novi, which Novi actually is very popular in Europe. And you'll find in Poland or some other countries, they have a number of cities named Novi. And you'll notice sometimes when you tell somebody where you live, like there'll be somebody that'll call and say, oh, you're Novi, they never say Novi. But in Europe and everything, that's how they pronounce it, Novi. It's a short I. So it was suggested, and they all went, oh yeah, I bet they could learn to write that. So, they accepted it, but there was a lot of controversy. Some of the old books that we have in the history room said there was a lot of controversy, because somebody thought it was, a really dumb name. There was some of the, some of the people around the township table said, oh, no, we don't like that name. We think it should be, I can't remember some of the other suggestions, but there were other suggested names that were equally as strange. So, I'm kind of glad they ended up with what they did. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I don't want to take all your time because I know you have a lot of business to do. And thanks again for the opportunity and for all that the library does for us.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Kathy.
much, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at item 8. That's public comment. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question-and-answer session. Therefore, library board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees.
I'm not speaking to
Okay, seeing no one coming forward to the podium, we will move on to item number 9, which is our student representatives report with Ravina.
For the April programs, the Demolition Derby with miniature motorways took place on April 4th. Participants got to enjoy playing slot car racing. All ages enjoyed this event as there were racing competitions between children and parents. 80 people attended. The Get Cracking on Code Coding Club took place on April 11th. This coding club is for grades 5 to 8. Accelerated Kid educated and taught participants about computer science with Bitsbox to program video app games using JavaScript programming language. The objective of each program is to provide a fun and educational club that participants can design, develop, and debug games to share with family and friends. 13 people attended. National Library Week event took place on April 14th at Lucky Strike of Novi. This was a fun event for all ages who participated in our National Library Week challenge of reading 60 minutes to earn entry into the event. Each participant got a $5 game card to play games, play life-size games, decorate a bowling pin, play virtual reality, and enjoy pizza. 78 people attended. The Extreme Reality STEM workshop took place on April 17th. This program was developed by Michigan Student Aid, and teens participated in an Extreme Reality STEM workshop, a financial literacy activity in which teens are assigned a profession and then were challenged to create budget strategies and balance a checkbook in order to financially prepare them for college. 20 people attended. The Pizza and Pages Book Club took place on April 24th. Attendees read the book Pie in the Sky by Wendy Mass. We served apple pie and ice cream at this program instead of pizza, since the book featured delivering apple pie as a job of the middle school student. The purpose of this book club is to encourage tweens to read and also allow tweens to practice for the Battle of Books program that the library hosts annually. 8 people attended. The Tween National Geography Bee took place on April 25th. At the Bee, attendees were able to test their knowledge about questions from all over the world. Each participant received a certificate of participation. 17 people attended. For the Teen Space Update, there were 456 attendees in Teen Space in the month of April. There was no Teen Space from April 2nd to April 6th due to spring break. Brownies were shared with the teens on April 11th, and graham crackers were shared on April 19th. National Pretzel Day was recognized on April 26th, and teens enjoyed soft, warm pretzels with cheddar cheese. The total from September 2017 to April 2018 in Teen Space is 5,526. For the breakdown, in September there were 740, October 1,048, November 970, December 558, January 525, February 650, March 579, and April 456. For the Teen Advisory Board update, the 8th TAB meeting of the year took place on April 20th. At this meeting, members enjoyed s'mores, brownies, and Chex Mix. The officer positions for 2018 to 2019 were then introduced and discussed. Officer elections will be taking place at the May meeting. After that, it was announced that the video that the teens submitted for the Teen Video Challenge won at the state level. Finally, the teens cut strips of paper which were used to make paper flowers at a Fox Run community service project. The final TAB meeting for the 2017 to 2018 school year will be on May 18th. 25 people attended. For the upcoming programs, Kick-off Teen Summer Program at Lucky Strike will be on June 16th. The Tween Pizza and Pages Book Club will be on June 20th. DIA Away, Think Like an Artist will be on June 23rd, and the DIY T-shirt design will be on June 27th. For the captions of the pictures, for the first picture, it is a demolition derby with miniature motorways. Then teens participate budgeting for their future and making wise spending decisions during Money Smart Week with the Extreme Reality STEM workshop. Then the Tween Pizza and Pages Book Club, excited to show off the April book. Then participants from the Tween National Geography Bee show off their certificates of participation. Photo credit courtesy of Lee Wynn of the Novi Camera Club. Then finally, participants having a good time at the National Library Week event held at Lucky Strike of Novi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ravina?
I just have to comment on how clearly you participate and read what you have to read. It's very clear, you project well, nice presence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ravina.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to item number 10, which is the president's report with me. So we'll start with A, 2017-2018 Library Board Goals. We actually won't have that this time because we're limiting.
They're on page 19, but we don't have an update.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. And just a reminder, and it's written here, the updates actually occur July, October, January, and April. B, Director's Evaluation, and I will allow Bill Lawler to talk about that.
It's time to do the annual performance evaluation for Julie. I had sent everyone an email a week or two ago with rating criteria. Some were able to open it without much problem, and some were not. So I decided to bring a copy of it to tonight's meeting. It's in front of each of you. There's 5 categories, and we'd like you to rate each of the 5, each element under each of the 5, from 1 to 5. You'll see on the form that last year we used a rating system where 5 was outstanding down to 1 unsatisfactory. But we'd like you to change to the new criteria on the attachment because that'll match what the rest of the library uses. If we do it on the old method, Julie's kind of doing it differently than every other employee at the library. So we'd like you to rate under leadership, management, communications, policy matters, and strategic objectives, each of those sub-elements from 1 through 5, 1 being the highest. And then we'd like you to do just an overall narrative. Some have done them by each of those elements, some just do one overall narrative. And I'd like you to send it to me, if you could, by June 15th, so I can compile all the responses and have them for our executive session on the 28th. Julie also does a self-evaluation, which we'll have to discuss that day. And last year, in particular, we had an excellent discussion, I thought, based on the input that each of us gave and Julie's self-evaluation. And I think you even had a wish list of items that you'd like to see happen this year.
If the board has no problem, I'd like to get that self-evaluation to you. I'll send it to you beforehand, so you have time to read it. And I am coming into a vacation that's happening in June, so I'm going to try and get that to you by Monday, June 25th. So it'll be like a few days before the meeting, if that works, since the meeting is on the 28th, yes, if that will work. Okay, great.
And you can either send it back to me on the email.
Okay.
Print it, however you want to send things to me, you and the board. Leave it at the library. I'm in there every week at least and could pick it up there.
So what date did you want this again?
By the 15th, if you could. If you miss by a couple of days, that's no big deal, but I do plan to make copies of everything that I get.
Just so I'm clear here, so we don't follow this criteria, we follow this criteria as far as?
Yes.
So
We should cross that.
ignore this
Yes.
these top 3 lines here.
That would be
Yes.
bad.
So
I wanna
number
make sure.
1 is number 1, not,
I want to make sure.
1 is high now. Really?
You followed these rules. Yeah. That's why I wanted to make sure here. I wanted to,
Yeah.
Disregard my report
Good catch. Julie would not have liked that.
Very good question. Any other thoughts on this from anyone else before we move on? Okay. 11, Treasurer's Report with Melissa Augusta.
Treasury report starts on page 21. Approved budget for Fund 268. Approved budget for Fund 268, fiscal year 2017-2018. Call for revenue of $2,901,020 and expenditures of $3,032,296. For consuming $131,476 of the fund balance. Budget for Fund 269 for 2017-2018 calls for revenue of $48,500 and expenditures of $140,965 using fund balance of $92,000. $92,465.
What page is that?
25. So on 24 is the Fund 268, and on 25 is Fund Balance 269. All right, so revenue and expenditure report for Fund 268, it starts on page 26, but the numbers that I'm going to be looking at are actually on page 29. And if you look under it'll be the 1, 2, 3, 4th column. This is year-to-date balance, April 30th, 2018. Total revenue, effective April 30th, 2018, is $2,899,406.13. That's an increase from the previous month of $19,779. Our expenditures, effective ending April 30th, 2018, was $2,344,230.40. That's an increase of $250,283. We are still on track for not using any of our fund balance. Any questions about that?
Congratulations.
Yeah, so far so good. I did not do a report for Fund 269. There was very limited expenditures. It was like $50, so I didn't even do a report for 269. That was pretty much the same as the previous month. Balance sheet, which is on page 31, for Fund Balance 268. The ending fund balance is $2,392,480.92. And the fund balance, which is on page 32 for Fund 269, for April 30th, 2018, is $1,712,596.47.
If I can just add something very quickly, Treasurer Augusta, I know there was a question a couple months ago, both from you and from Trustee Messerneck, about the balance sheets and potentially not matching to the actual 268 revenue and expenditure reports. I want to let you all know that I did have a conversation with the City Finance Department, and you actually won't see them actually balance equally. And the purpose of that is there's actually cash on hand and a few things that don't show in the budget that are actually reported in the balance sheet reports each month. So there might have been a time where they might have just out of, I don't know what, matched or equaled in some way or been close, but they shouldn't. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you so much. Okay, so number 12, Director's Report.
Okay. So we are on page 33. And first I want to thank Trustee Poupard for providing the May recognition of our staff in their celebration of anniversaries. Gail Anderson is 2 years, Amy Marcus is 1 year, and Allison Janicki is 1 year. Amy and Allison both work in our support services department, and Gail is our part-time programming coordinator through information services. I gave you a list. I don't believe I provided one for March, so March and April are both included on page 33 for just some of the events and programs, the out and abouts of meetings and things that I've held in the last couple months. We will come back to page 34 and 35 because that's a board matter for board action. On page 36, this is a cost proposal giving you an idea of the LED lighting project and how we're moving forward. So the top portion, that first 4 lines there, talks about the consultant and what the consultant recommended as 97.41 hours of potential time that we will use and pay for in-house work to be done. These are quick light bulb change outs and some light ballast work that is going to be done in-house for the LED project. Then I provided to you the proposed work schedule so that you could see how the work is being done. We have a great person on our staff, Keith Perfect. He has the skills, and we are going to be paying time and a half in order to have him work some additional hours in the building to work on the LED project and the simple lighting changes and change outs. And then at the bottom, I put together as well as I could based on invoice that we've received, the personnel costs, the materials, and the costs that we received through Graybar, which is the state. We were able to do a state bid and receive those pricings for the different bulbs that we are purchasing. There was a small purchase of a scaffolding in terms of equipment, and then I did put in a miscellaneous cost line just in case we had to purchase anything else. At this time, we don't see anything, but I just wanted that to be noted. And then at this point, we've almost exhausted our consultant hours that were from the original $7,500. We're almost completed with that. Then there was an approval for some additional hours and costs if we needed to use that through the summer, which I am anticipating based on this schedule that the project will go to about August 9th. As you can see, I put in 2 areas of red where we'll look at a 50% completion and see where we are. I'll have Keith providing you with some feedback as to how he's doing with the lighting and is it actually moving on target and on time. And then we'll do an actual walkthrough with Illuminart in late July so that we connect with them as well and see if there's any issues at this point with the project. Because as you know, we're doing this all in-house and kind of on our own and not with an actual company to do the project. That was the change that we decided on. Any questions that I could, if you have any related to this information?
This scaffolding, are you buying the scaffolding
We
or
did.
renting?
No, we purchased it, and actually, we will have use for it otherwise. It's a good piece of equipment that we'll be able to use again.
181, very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
What percentage of this is, I can't remember
Right.
what we had proposed before this. I mean, because this is not the full project. Is this like
It's
about?
not the full project, but it covers about 2/3 of the lighting was determined was just a quick bulb replacement. So about 2/3 of the lighting we hope will be done by doing this. You had budgeted $92,500, and this covers that 2/3 of lighting, personnel, and we're looking at about $23,000.
Did the consultant give us an estimate, a new estimate of the electricity savings that we would?
He has not provided that yet.
We did that before, though.
We
didn't
did.
you? Okay.
Mhm. Yes.
Because I'm wondering, is it a straight 2/3, or would that be?
Yeah, that I don't know.
Okay.
But we can actually ask that again and follow back up. Yeah. Any other questions? Hopefully, this is giving you a good idea. I'm happy to tell you that light bulbs are arriving at the library. We have a big shipment that's actually coming tomorrow. We have some bulbs to start. The project will kick off tomorrow. Keith and another, Bill Bebenek from our facility staff will start it. There's about 6 hours that will be spent tomorrow. Saturday, it's a full day, and then we're closed because of our computer changeover the rest of the weekend. Keith will then, because of the holiday and it being a short week, we decided not to continue the work then. Keith then will go on vacation, and then the project will get started. So as you can see, it's been laid out, I think, fairly well to see about 12 hours of work, additional work that's going to be focused on each week for the most part. And then I'll be happy to provide, any updates. If I can point out to you, just down in the materials line at the bottom, you can see that the LED bulb specifications and the cost, there's a $12,644 cost, and then there's about 1,600, I'm sorry, that's for 1,658 bulbs. There are about 400 bulbs that we're purchasing early to have them to get the project started. Otherwise, it was a 6 to 8 week wait. And so we were able to get a little bit of stock ahead of time, but it was a different cost. Not much, though. So that just keeps us, at least at this point, on time and starting. So, page 37, we are finishing up our year with the high school and the Enable project and our robotics team. This is another assembly day that'll take place on Saturday, June 23rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Anyone from the community can sign up and build a hand, or we have some hands that need to be finished, that were started and need to be finished, because we do want to meet our goal of 200 hands for this year. So this is another opportunity. I want to point out to you at the bottom that there's another logo that was added. You can see Toolbox for Education. That's through Lowe's, and we recently just received a $5,000 grant to continue seed money to go with this project, to continue it for the next year.
Nice.
So super excited. We also received 2 donations from residents at Fox Run, and we're getting ready to do a demo at Fox Run for that generous donation as well.
That's the same day the DIA is going to be there.
It
too,
is.
so that's
Busy
gonna be
day.
a busy day.
June 23rd became yes, it is. So that'll bring in people for that, and maybe while there's someone building a hand, maybe they want to see the DIA that day. So
I'd like to comment on we have several councils, religious councils at Fox Run, and the Interdenominational Council made a donation of $600 to the Enable for several reasons. One was they loved the project and the concept. They loved the idea that you were working with children to learn compassion and concern for other people, and the fact that there was no charge, that the library was donating their labor to it. So they were delighted. I asked for 300, they gave 600.
Nice.
Very nice.
Plus, we had an individual make a donation too.
So we're planning for Monday, June 25th, to be over at Fox Run, and the students will be there to to have a table and do a demo, and it'll be during their dinner time around, I believe, 4 to 5:30 is the time frame. I'll let you all know.
What building?
It's going to be at Ascot.
Okay.
Yes. So we confirmed that last week. Any other questions? Okay. Moving forward, there is the report from Barb Rakowski, starting on page 38. As you can see, she's highlighted some information about the Enable project and virtual reality, as well as at the very top of page 39, we've added some multi-charger cables to the second floor, because we know that different people have different phones and different needs. And we're trying to make that accommodation to people if they're in the building to help them out. Starting on page 40, I gave you just a snippet. You have the full document in your packet of the technology survey that Barb and her team put together and put out in the month of April. What I put in, which I thought was, I think, the most important, were some of the statistics, but starting on page 42 and going to page, I believe it's 51, these are comments from the community about technology. And then what I asked Barb to do was respond, and you can see a follow-up column so that you can see if we have actually done it, maybe we've tried it before in the past, and that way there's some response to the patron as to, we have never looked into it, thank you so much, we will, or we have, or it's actually something we've considered for budget. So there's some very good follow-up details from Barb from in order to answer the patrons.
That's really, talk about communication. That's really terrific.
And I think-
Absolutely. The worst thing is to have a survey,
Absolutely.
get
Yeah. And do
feedback
nothing.
that
And
needs
nothing.
attention and not respond to it. So this is tremendous.
And the
Yeah.
thoroughness with which you did it.
Yes, and I believe last year we made this available on our website. I will make sure it is. I don't think it's up yet, but I'll make a note so that if Barb can put it up, people can see those responses. And then following on page 52, at the top, there is just some additional things going on with facilities. This was provided by Keith Perfect. We did have some water damage from some skylights in the building. They have been repaired and sealed. And then tomorrow, because we are closed for in-service and leading into the computer changeover, we do have a company coming out and cleaning the fabrics because we had water stains from that. They'll come out and clean that all up tomorrow and get that done, and hopefully there won't be, you won't see anything anymore. But right now, when you look up from the youth area, there's some water stains. Then following on the bottom page of 52, April Stevenson's report for information services begins. That goes on to page 54 for the statistics. I always like to point out raising a reader and how we're doing. That's on page 54. Page 55 is a report put together by Gail Anderson. Representative Crawford talked a little bit about on the road, and on May 11th, they had an event where they went on the road, and here's some of the details and where they visited. They were at the Fisher Building. They had lunch at Andiamo Riverfront, Belle Isle, Greektown. They went to Astoria's pastry shop, which I heard people spent lots of money and had a great time eating, and then St. Mary's Catholic Church for a historical presentation. Everybody loved it. As you can see, the target profit was $1,000, and the actual profit was $1,955 by doing this event. So we take a little over 50 people on a little tour and on a day trip through the library. We've been doing this now for a number of years, thanks to Kathy Crawford starting this. And then when Gail came on, she actually took that project over and works with Kathy to do it. They are your docents on the bus, and they are a riot to be with. Talk about entertaining. So they do a great job. On page 56, Mary Ann Zermulin's report for support services. A lot of information about the migration, as this is, if you ask me, the week. The week is coming. It's
go time.
Yes. So let me just, if I can say thanks again to the board for understanding that we know this is, going to be slow and new, lots of new information, a whole new system, which the staff will unveil on Tuesday if all goes well. If not, we'll be there to apologize and work with the patrons and let them know that, we will work with our consortium to get it up and going as soon as possible. But we are hoping to go live at 10 a.m. on Tuesday morning. They've been doing lots of training. Mary Ann is amazing when it comes to her training manuals and her detail. In fact, I've had other staff comment on her details and training, because then they use her manuals and her information for it to cross departments and to get us ready. We literally are seeing this. We saw this 2 weeks ago. Mary Ann was trained. And now we turn around and have to be ready for next Tuesday. It's a little daunting. And I told the staff that I appreciated the comments from the last board meeting, how you understand that it might go a little slow and that you support them. And, I made sure everyone is aware of that. And I thank you for that as well, because it's new jargon and new ways of working through a system. So, but I have every faith in this team. They love learning. They're excited about it, and I promise they're going to get lots of desserts, which equals stressed backwards on Tuesday, and we'll keep them happy with sugar and things, and make sure they're doing okay through the day. Mary Ann's going to work a long day to make sure she touches base with all of her staff that day. And but I think it'll be great, and we'll have a new catalog and a new way of searching information and finding information, and hopefully it'll be more intuitive. It'll be something more that the patrons will enjoy using as well. And then to follow on page 58 begins all of the statistics. We're getting towards the end. I always love looking at how we're doing. We're doing very well with some of the stats that have come up through the last few months. I do believe we're going to be showing more checkouts than last year, so again, increasing, and usage has been fantastic. The Friends of the Novi Library, they have their minutes from their April meeting, which is included. And that goes through to page 69, and on page 70 is your calendar. We had talked last month that there might be a concern for the December meeting. I just wanted to make sure that you all know that it is December 19th. It's a Wednesday, and I think that is the date you had already. So we're good for that date and that meeting. Any questions or comments? I'm happy to entertain.
Every time we see it, everything is plus, 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 plus. Very good. But what is wrong? You
There's lots of things wrong. We talked about marking. There are. I mean, we worked on security gates this the last 2 days, and we found that we had to dig into the tile, and we had to, work some things out. But there's always things happening.
Yeah, we were there yesterday, and I was surprised to see the main door is closed.
Yes.
This happened suddenly or what?
Well, it did, because what happened was they were scheduled for later in the month, then they changed the date, and they had to get this work done before our fiscal. So with the catalog and us knowing that we were going to be closed, this was the only time the reps could get back out to us if they wanted to be paid. So we made it work, did a quick change around, used the east door to the meeting room to bring our patrons in. I haven't heard any complaints. Usually staff are good at sharing if there is, but I think it was a quick thing to do, but we communicated it as well as we could, and everybody's being brought in, being greeted and saying, hey, thanks so much. We know that this is a little bit of an oddity and inconvenience, but the new gates are up. They are running and functioning. The only reason why we're waiting till tomorrow, the main doors will be able to open now. We'll have no problem as of Tuesday, but we had some porcelain tile and some work had to be done, grouting and things that had to dry. But we'll be good to go.
Good.
Everything, and the new gates are very sleek and
very good looking.
yeah, they look really nice. It's amazing how new technology and what that does. But so we tested them and they're ready to go. They beep, so they'll tell you if you haven't checked it out right. They beep a little louder, those gates.
That's good.
But that's new technology. It does, one thing that it is supposed to do too, that's new from the old gates, 8 years of technology changes, is that if something doesn't check out and as you walk out and it beeps, it will tell the desk which title that is, so we don't have to go through the whole list. So how cool, and that, talk about saving time for the patron
Yeah.
standing there. And we have a lot of moms that love to take, handfuls of books out, so we'll be able to say, oh, it's, Charlotte's Web, look for that one, check it out, make sure it's done, and then they walk out.
That's great.
How
So,
much it cost?
I don't have the actual figures in front of me, but I could share that with you, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, it was in budget, though, I can tell you that, yeah. Absolutely.
Any other questions for Julie on the director's report? Okay. Moving on to 13, committee reports, starting with policy. I'm the chair of that, and we have no updates. B is HR committee.
No change.
Okay. C, finance committee, financial plan. That would be Augusta?
We met with Julie on May 3rd to discuss endowment opportunities and kind of how that's all going to work. Do you want to kind of explain, Julie?
Sure. So I had the opportunity to speak with our city finance department on working on an endowment and moving forward with that. And there's one option that we can actually look into where we can work with the city and have it work separately from the current monies that we have, the 268 and 269 account, but we do believe that we can set something up through that avenue. We'll continue to look. There might be other options, but we're glad to hear that there might be one just through normal chains that we've used in the past. And then we also, I brought some opportunities to look at a draft of a purchasing guidelines. Just, it's always good to have on, from your point of view, for you as board members, to keep me in check in terms of how things get purchased and different thresholds for purchasing. And so we're going to be working on that language as well. Any other questions?
Okay. Moving forward to D, so I'm the chair of that committee, and I was at Springpalooza.
Yes,
That
you
was
were.
amazing. Friday the 18th. If you can make it next year, try to, because there's so much to do there. You will definitely be entertained, and a lot of it is free. So it was good for the library to be able to participate in that. Christina was at the desk. Julie was actually a co-host.
Yes.
Yes, which is amazing with Cheryl. All right, did you want to say anything about that, Julie?
Nope, that's-
Okay.
Yep, great event. We were happy to be there.
Yes, okay, moving on to E, strategic planning.
After some creative finagling, we finally found a date in which three of us could be able to meet, which is May 29th,
Oh, nice.
to begin to look at strategic planning. Julie
Great.
will be well-prepared, and we will get our work done.
Sounds
It is
good.
2:30,
That's
May
Greg
29.
Wood, you're not on that committee.
Oh.
It's not that we wouldn't like to have you.
brother's on it?
No,
Right.
there are three of us
You have a brother, right?
scheduling.
Okay. F, building landscape committee.
I think we pretty much covered from the detail that
Are we
was
good there?
for the LED proposal.
Okay, great. And then G is the bylaw committee.
Work completed.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
we'll need to circle back, Bill, probably in the fall, because it'll be 2 years, so
Okay.
giving you a heads up.
All right.
Okay.
All right, moving on to item number 14, which is public comment. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question-answer session, therefore library board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. There's no one coming forward, so we will move on to 15 on our agenda, which is matters for board action. We do have about 5 items for that. Starting with A, approval of new salary chart effective July 1st, 2018. There's more detail on page 35.
Yep, so there was written information on page 34 to match 35, brought it, this is the second draft, bringing it to you today, hoping for approval. I did not receive any emails, calls, or questions in regard to it in the time frame from last month in April till now. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. I just want to put back out a disclaimer that the City of Novi and the HR department was wonderful to work with in helping us put together the new structure and moving forward.
I think something too. So please correct me if I'm wrong, we've already approved $56,000 to help implement that, and all
Yes.
you're asking for is $36,000.
Right,
So-
I'm asking for 36, but I'm asking you to approve the chart
To
on
chart,
page
right,
35.
right.
Yes, and you've already approved the monies that would cover, and actually it's coming in less, correct?
By $20,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
So move.
Second,
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Approved.
This will be exciting news to bring back to the staff. Thank you very much.
there's been so much work behind the scenes, and so much discussion, and so much, input sought, and ways of looking at this. So really commend you, Julie, because it was not something that was easy to do.
It
And so-
wasn't easy,
So,
but Marcia Dominic also deserves a huge pat on the back because she helped, pull together all of the data for the most part, and then we were able to disseminate it and work and do comparisons and then work with the city. So I thank her as well for
So
helping.
give her a pat from
I
the
sure
board.
will.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I do have one question.
Sure.
Which was more difficult, the salary chart or the lighting?
Well, the lighting's just starting, so ask me later, yeah.
Knock on wood.
Ask me later on that one.
Okay.
Thank you for the approval on that.
You're welcome. Moving forward to B, approval of amended 268 budget for 17-18, and
So I'm going to walk you
Yeah.
through, yes. So this is to get us pretty much in line with the city. You have your hard copies in front of you that I apologize weren't in your packet, only because I was still working with them. Back and forth, Jessica Dory is amazing from the finance department, and we wanted to make sure that we have I'm going to walk you through some amendments that we'd like to happen tonight so that they can wrap up the end of the year and be able to take this to council, and their books and their numbers from their reports match ours. So that's where we are at this point. So if you look, on your sheets, and I'm going to also follow along here. So we'll do B first, approval of amended 268 budget for 17-18. 17-18 is on these sheets here in front of you. And the first thing is, if you look at the second orange column, 2017-18, the word amended is put in there, and the date is going to be 5/24/2018, so it reflects today. The only change to that, if you go to the very last page, is on the very back. There's a change from the original approved budget of $31,000 down in furniture in the 990 line, furniture. It's going from $31,000 to $35,000. Now, we had a conversation at budget time, and I let you know that that was happening. This is just reflecting that so that the city's numbers and ours are all set. In addition, as board members during budget time, you had approved, I called it year-end at that time, the column, but we're calling it amended now. These numbers have not changed except for that $35,000 change. They're going to use those numbers and plug them in for their year-end, just so that they can see changes. Okay, they haven't done that yet, any of the financials.
I do have a question.
Sure.
What is it necessary to change the budget numbers?
So that, at this point, because of the end of the year, they want to just make sure they're as close or clear on this particular change. It's a furniture change, that's why. I know.
It was only a budget to budget, right?
Right.
It's not
Right.
supposed to
Right.
reflect actuals.
It's not, but this allows them, what they're going to do is, we approve the year-end at budget time, and it was called year-end. They want to actually physically put those numbers in, so that they are then reflecting what we made changes for year-end numbers. And we did that
When did we make those changes?
during budget time. Yep.
So we have an approved column.
We had a
Not
year-end.
Yes.
But now you're actually
Amending.
amending it, and we're going to be equal to what the city will put in. When you see your revenue.
Is that the approved one is what we had before?
Mm-hmm.
And now,
Yes, and now the amended.
these changes, I mean,
They're
am I not
minimal.
doing this math right? I mean,
Yeah.
if we approved a $3,032,000, now it's $3,018,000
Right.
by making this furniture change?
No.
No,
Or-
these were other changes that were made. I kept all the year-end. You had made those changes, and we were projecting that we'd have a year-end of about 97,000. I gave you that at budget time. The only change since then is that change of 31,000 to 35, and the new number is not 97, it's 95,289.22.
Because of the lighting, some of the things we didn't do or something, is that what it?
No, it's not.
Oh.
The only change is that, from budget time, the only change I'm making a note of is that change of $4,000 there. Everything else, pretty much, I didn't.
But you also have yellow in the, payment of salaries and temporary salaries and social security.
That's in different columns. We're not there.
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Taking it line
We'll
by
get to
line.
those. We're gonna do these all separate, just so that the city can go ahead and finish out their year
Gotcha.
end.
So I guess unless I hear why it's beneficial to us, I don't think I don't know why we have to change it.
They're recommending we do it, so that their numbers, so that they can plug in the year-end numbers that we approved at budget time. They haven't done that yet.
Have we approved this?
You did.
Oh, so
You
we
did at
approved
budget time.
this.
Yes.
Yes.
At
Yep.
31,000.
Yep.
So
And
this, the second, so I'm still confused when we approved this and why, so we modified our budget?
You did.
At one time?
You
Okay,
did.
so this is,
And this is where every year, in fact, Craig Messerneck, trustee Messerneck brings this up every year. I always put a year in because the city is looking for some projections to see if there might be changes, and I give you that year end. They physically, usually they've already put in those numbers, and there's already been changes to your expenditure reports, Treasurer Augusta, but they haven't. So you didn't see those changes yet. And usually Craig's like, why are these numbers changing again?
Well, that's what I'm looking at,
Right.
what our budget is, and I'm showing that approved shows 31,000. I'm showing year end shows 35. I always just thought that was a projection.
No, you're not projecting anymore because you did approve at budget time to go to
Mm-hmm.
those year-end numbers. They just haven't put them, they haven't reflected them in the reports yet that we're pulling every month, and they will now. They're going to do that for June. Yep. So we just have to be on the same page. We have to make sure, yeah. It is. It's-
Second.
Minor, but I'm
Yeah.
It is.
confused, though.
It's very minor.
Right,
Yep.
right.
I just want to make sure that,
Sorry.
Is there more discussion?
Second.
No.
Okay, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
thank
Okay.
you.
Wanna
I know,
compare.
I'm just trying to get their
Whatever
numbers and
makes,
ours.
whatever makes City Hall happy.
Yes. Well, it's more for.
Well, I mean, your vote is important too.
No,
I wanna
no,
like.
no.
It's
stress
more
that.
for
I
an
was just wanted
auditing
to
thing.
find-
And
yeah,
we,
I just
if
wanted
the
to
numbers
understand.
don't match with them, we will get,
And
they're gonna
public
get marked
public
down.
entities
Yeah.
are just how far above the budget, how far below
Yep.
the budget. Ooh, yes.
Yeah. And really, they're only worried about 17, 18, but I want to take care of 18, 19 right now because there are some big changes.
Okay.
So here we go. C is approval of amended 268 budget for 18, 19. So if you go back, you had approved a budget. You see that's the first blue column. Now I'm giving you an amended, which will reflect on the second page, the changes, that 56,000 that we had talked about for the salary chart, it's now been moved into the right columns for permanent and temporary salaries, which I told you we would be doing. We used the 56 as an earmark in 704 until I had all those calculations done. So it's going from 877,000 to 886,000, that's in yellow. Then the temporary line is 691,000, it's going to 716,000. Then you have, which should have been in yellow, I apologize, $2,500, that's the overtime that'll start in the new year that reflects the LED project. That's been included, and then a tiny increase in Social Security based on that, based on the permanent, temporary, and the overtime. So those changes have to be made so that we can start with these numbers in the 17-18 budget for July, when the city wants these so that we see these numbers.
Is there any discussion on this?
I can't see, you're adding from the approved to the amended, and yet when you get to total personnel services, it decreases.
Because it
They
was
took the
56,000.
56,000 out.
Right.
Under the,
Where does that show? on
okay,
here?
if you look at
Oh, I see it.
account
Yep, I see
704,
it.
yeah, see how it goes from
Wages
56 to
not-
0?
Gotcha, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
The second,
So remember, we approved the
That's-
56,000.
Yeah.
so that
So
was
that
a
goes back down
change.
to 0 because now we have
Yes.
actual figures.
Thank
Right,
you.
And so-
36,000
Thank
was all we
you,
used.
thank you.
Yep,
Right.
So you're just cleaning it up.
I am, yes.
Clean it.
But it seems like at the very end, your total fund balance that should be different. right?
It's down, yes, so.
But you just haven't reflected that.
I haven't reflected, so here, I'm going to give you that now so you know.
Where is
You
that?
have, the fund balance, it shows
Gotcha.
as 127,220.
Yes.
It actually should be 107,220 minus $20,000 from the 56 to the 36.
Okay,
So that is what you're going to approve is,
So we need
Yes.
to make that comment that should
Correct.
be 107.
yes.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Motion to
One
approve?
comment though, I think
Yeah,
though,
sure.
when we
Yes.
make a budget, we should not be changing this all the time. I understand this is kind of unique, but I'm confused with this, that first one. And I think, we come in above or
I
below
agree.
budget.
I agree.
At the end of the year, we measure ourselves against that. I don't think we should be doing this multiple times.
I agree with that
sense.
too. It doesn't make sense. If we're over or under, we've already agreed to that and amend, and to approve it, but I don't think it means we change our budget.
Right, and I do send them the amendments, so they're aware of them. I just know that for their end year, the one you just approved for the amended, for that orange column, they needed that in order for everything to be ready for their year end.
Okay.
Yep. So if I can help you for a second before you actually do approval, let me read this so that
Absolutely.
it's actually stated, if that's okay.
Yeah,
So if you look at the bottom at the footnote of the actual budget here, 5/24/18, budget amendment for year-end, additional $4,000 for the chair upholstery, which you already approved. That was already done. That's for 17/18. Now you're going to approve $36,000 for permanent, temporary, and social security for salary chart increases, LED project overtime costs, $2,500, overtime in the overtime line item, and $150 social security for the 18-19 budget, which will reflect a fund balance that was $127,220, is now $107,220. I wanted to say that so that I will reflect them in the next time you see this report.
But
Okay?
what you didn't say was that we had set aside 56,000, which is now less, I don't know what the exact amount is.
But that's what she was saying, in the total fund balance.
Right, it shows up.
It comes
right.
up there, yeah.
Right.
But her narrative shows that you've added and that the fund balance is less. And I'm saying, how did that happen? And that happened because of the 56,000.
Yeah, I guess you need to make that comment,
You
that
have-
56 goes
yeah.
to zero. Yeah.
Oh,
you're
yes, okay, and the 56,000,
Thank
that was sitting actually in line, we'll be specific, was sitting in line 704.200, wages non-pensionable, that goes to zero, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was the tricky part.
Yes.
to me.
Okay. I should have
moved.
highlighted that.
Wait,
Oh,
I'm gonna make a, wait,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes,
The LED project was being funded by 269, is that?
it still is.
It still is.
Yes,
So-
all materials, but the personnel is going to be out of 268 because of paying out the personnel costs and stuff. They're
Okay.
actually in the 268 budget.
Okay, I just wanted
Yes.
to clarify.
You are
so that
correct.
we're all, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I so move?
Yeah, you want to make a motion?
Do I have to say everything she
I
just
don't
said?
know. Usually we do.
You could,
But
well,
do you want to just say so moved?
yeah, you
It's
can
at the
still move
bottom.
based on,
It's
There's
at the
so many.
bottom.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I think I just want to commend us that we, in essence, have saved $20,000
yes.
Yeah.
from the fund balance.
Yeah.
That all that discussion was $20,000
Right.
out of the
Because
savings.
if we would have had an outside panel, that would have cost us
Exactly.
$20,000. So,
And you all are aware that we still have a few staff that need to be looked at for 1920, and
That's right.
and
Yeah.
it's good that we've done that, absolutely.
It's good to note that, too. So D, approval.
Okay,
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and take it from here?
go ahead.
Well, okay. Approval of amended 269 budget for 17-18.
Yes. So in front of you is the 269 budget, okay? This is one sheet. The city alerted us, it's good news, our donations and our revenue coming in is much higher. And what it does is it actually puts that complete category out of whack versus expenditures. So the city provided me in red these figures in order for them to balance, in order for the 2017, 2018 to be amended today on 5/24/2018. It reflects those balanced categories of donations in and then expenditures. And then it also, there's now a capital outlay category, which we didn't have before, that was actually part of the expenditures. We pulled that out because they report it differently, and I gave you that information as well with the 92.5 staying that amount, because we said we were potentially going to bring it down because of the, we were potentially going to bring it down. But we're going to keep it as is, let the materials run as they should be through the end of the year, and then take it out of here. So this is just for them, the city, just making sure that these categories are more in line with each other.
So this is just amending the budget that we've already approved to.
Correct. Yep. Just so that the city can report these numbers. Yep.
So how does that impact the bottom line?
It
These
actually.
changes? It doesn't seem
It
to.
doesn't, right.
Thank you.
They're a wash.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay,
they are.
that's helpful.
Yep.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay, so that's for 2017-18 amended.
Amended budget.
And then what I wanted to show you is the 2018-19 approved. And we had talked about at the very bottom where you start the beginning fund balance, revenues, expenditures, we had a discrepancy the last time. The number, if you look at, let me see where I'm at here. If you looked at, I wanted to give you a good history. As you can see, we've made some amendments. We've, 427, 622, and then in January. So I cleaned up the numbers, and in 2018-19 approved, the very last column, this should give you a better beginning fund balance year end of $1,514,847.62, and then it gives you an ending fund balance, which actually is lower than what I think it is, but until I get hard numbers for the end of this year, then I can give you better numbers, but this actually cleans up our math. There was a mistake of the number not carrying over from before. Trustee Augusta, you know what I'm talking about, right? That number that, if you look at from the bottom, do you see how the beginning fund balance, if you look in 1, 2, 3, 4.
It went to.
It was at 1,679,000, and then it was 1,679,000, and
Yeah.
1,679,000. I kept using that number because I didn't have a good number to use.
Right.
I have cleaned up that number to where it is now for 17-18 approved. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions? Nope. No, okay.
Okay.
That means nope, you get it. Thank you.
Do I hear a
Awesome.
motion?
Which actually, it'll probably be better than that. It's just I don't have final numbers yet.
So this is the motion to approve the 18-19
Yes,
amended budget.
yes.
Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passed.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The last thing on our agenda is 16, adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Have
I'll
a
try to
great
have a
night.
short agenda because usually the